Okay, so today I thought we'd look back again at Resident Evil Resistance and kind of look at it in a more positive light. I do kind of want to do a little bit of a recap of the game for anyone who hasn't really played it or is kind of new to playing it, because there are still players that pop up every now and again that are new. In terms of the gameplay background, this is me playing it after about maybe 6-7 months of not playing it, so I fully got carried and completely forgot what I was doing, so enjoy that. But yeah, I think the title kind of really explains it. I think the game, honestly, in terms of multiplayer attempt, was the best we had. I think Umbrella Corps and Reavers aren't anything compared to this, and mainly I'm saying that because it's a more kind of PvP game. In terms of your co-op games, multiplayer games, obviously you've got like the old Outbreak games, and then Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6. They're just better multiplayer games because they are cooperative, and I think that always works better with these games. But in terms of PvP, I think Resistance was probably the one that had the most kind of enjoyment, but it did have its issues, and it does have its issues now. So yeah, let's go for it. Right, so in terms of the game itself and how it works, for anyone who is unfamiliar, so it is a asymmetrical multiplayer game, and to kind of quickly explain that, think Dead by Daylight, where it's like a 4v1, kind of asymmetrical. And the goal is to go through 3 rooms of objectives as the survivors and escape the kind of the test, basically. You have all different types of survivors that all do different things. There's healers, there's melee focused ones, there's firearms focused ones, all kinds of stuff you can do, and all kinds of weapons. There's melee weapons, pistols, shotguns, whatever. And yeah, the goal is to complete its objectives in a time limit and get out and don't die. And then on the flip side, you've got the mastermind player. The mastermind player controls all the cameras in each room and can set traps, spawn in zombies, and even control like actual bioweapons. For example, you can play as Birkin, you can play as Nemesis. There's some cool options out there that you can definitely get on board with playing. And they both play quite differently. Mastermind is very different to playing a survivor, and it can be fun. It is a genuinely fun time. But the game does have, nowadays at least, some issues, and I do kind of want to talk about that now, just for people who are maybe getting into it for the first time. First of all, player count, obviously the big one. The game's been out for a long time. It never released standalone. You had to still buy Resident Evil 3 if you want to play it. It's still popular from what I can tell. It's pretty easy to get lobbies, at least on PlayStation. I'm not sure on where that sits on other platforms, but from my experience on PlayStation, it's fairly easy to get games. Xbox, I'm unaware. PC, I'm unaware, but obviously on PC you can check. In terms of PC, from what I've kind of done some research on, it does have sometimes a hacker problems where people are clearly cheating, which is kind of weird considering it's like a really small niche game now, and I think cheating in a game like that is kind of silly, but whatever. That's just PC for you. But I'd say on PlayStation it's still relatively active, so if you're playing on PlayStation, easy matches. Any other platform, I'm not too sure. So that's matchmaking. In terms of the game and the game balance, so the game was obviously kind of abandoned many years ago, and with that, there's been no balance passes, there's been no kind of adjustments or in any way. So you'll come across mastermind players or survivor players that are just playing the very best loadouts you could possibly get. And for a new player, it's hard to compete with that because you have to actually level up the characters to get the upgrades and play the game more to get like the higher tier perks and upgrades and stuff like that. It's very much a play to win game. You can kind of pay to win it, I guess, in some degree, but honestly, the more playtime you've got, the easier it is for you, especially against newer players. So there is that. That is a bit of a throw for new people, just because it gets a little bit difficult. But if the game is interesting and you stick with it, I promise it does kind of get better. And you're not going to get a lobby every single time where it's like max level players playing max level characters. From my experience, I was between getting gameplay for the game, I was getting lobbies with like level 10 masterminds or level like 1 to 10 survivors. So people still play the game, people still join the game. But I think it's very small in terms of player base now. Not minute, but there is obviously like a dedicated fan base that plays the game quite consistently, and you know you are going to run across those people and now going to kind of kick your head in if you're new. So you know, but in terms of like community and stuff like that, everyone seems to be very kind of, at least from my experience, people do seem to work as a team and help each other, which is good. So I'm not sure if that's just like a one-off and I'm just seeing that myself, but from what I've played, that seems to be the case, which is nice. And yeah, just to kind of go into everything else about it, you know, when it was kind of popular, and even now, if you go back to it, there's a lot of options, there's a lot of things to do, There's a lot of cosmetics you can buy, there's a lot of characters you can play and level up, and they all play very differently. I think the game itself has like its own thing. There's quite a lot going on in it. It can get kind of stale, but I think that's the same with any kind of multiplayer game, especially like asymmetricals like Dead by Daylight. I think I play DBD quite a lot, or at least I used to play it quite a lot. But for reasons and obviously changes made to the game, I don't play it as often now because I get bored of it quite quickly. And I think that's the same with any game, but for at least a chunk of time where you're leveling up characters and trying to learn how to play the game, it can be quite entertaining to kind of pick up and play. And yeah, again, it's not going to be hard to find lobbies, so you have that going as well. But yeah, in terms of the video itself today, I just wanted to take a minute to kind of praise the game, because I did enjoy it when I played it, when it was new. Was I good at it? I think sometimes I was good at it. I definitely remember some good times from it, but again, I did kind of stop playing it, and then the people that didn't stop playing it carried on, and now everyone's just better than me. But yeah, I mean, in terms of multiplayer games for the series, I don't necessarily agree with them, especially on a PvP standpoint. I think they're fun to play a little bit if they do release, but I don't think they should ever be like a mainstay. Always prefer co-op for the franchise. I think it works better. But as we all know, there's been a lot of attempts at a multiplayer PvP game, and they haven't really stuck the landing. But I think that this one specifically was a better game than the rest, in my opinion at least. But yeah, that's going to do it. So like I said, if anyone is wanting to try the game, I do encourage you to give it a good go. It might be pretty frustrating at first if you get lobbies where it's just constant high level players and stuff like that. And again, in terms of platform, player bases may change and cheaters may change, but I encourage you to give it a go. It is good, and it is free with Resident Evil 3, so at least there's that as well. There was something I wanted to mention. I think Resident Evil 3 remake went up on one of the PlayStation Plus tiers not long ago, and I don't think this game was included with that, which is weird. I thought it would be, but I guess it isn't. But yeah, if you have a physical copy of Resident Evil 3, and I think if you buy Resident Evil 3 digitally, you should just have access to this game. I don't know about digital because I own the game on disc, but yeah, that's pretty much going to do it though. Leave your thoughts on this game down below. Do you play it? Did you play it? What are your thoughts on how it plays? Did you enjoy it? Do let me know. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.